Thanks for tuning into another episode of Niche Knowledge and Nonsense. I'm Bailey.
And I'm Ethan.
Yeah, and Ethan is taking reins on today's episode. So, what did you pick this time? Please don't be gnomes or goblins.
It's actually not gnomes or goblins. So yeah, if you're just tuning in, we kind of go back and forth on choosing a topic, kind of surprising the other person with it so they can react to our research. So on that note, Bailey, I do not want to air your dirty laundry, especially because you're guilty of using Tide detergent instead of the vastly superior cleaning power of Persil. But
Okay.
you've been experiencing an approximately 2 year long bout of everybody in your family being sick basically every few weeks, right? It's like by the time one
Yes.
kid is not sick, the other person gets pneumonia, and then someone gets pink eye, and then someone gets whatever.
Yes.
That's
This
been
is
going
true.
on, right?
Yes. Do you know
Yeah.
why?
Possibly. I mean, there can be any number of causes of repeated illnesses. Bad luck, high social activity, having those little grub gremlins you call kids in your house, touching everything, mold, poor diet, etc. But
Okay.
if we look beyond the normal causes of illnesses, we might encounter the startling fact that you may have been cursed. All right.
This
So
actually makes sense.
it
Yeah.
could be. I mean, I've
Yeah.
posited this a few times just again because it seems like every couple of weeks you've got something going on, and it could just be bad luck, but maybe it is a hex. We don't know. So today I wanted to talk about the brief history of real curses.
Okay. Like curse words? Shit.
Yeah, that does
don't
have
know.
something to do with it. We'll bleep those out since we're a family freaking friendly podcast. But
Okay.
yeah, as I've mentioned before, I start most of my episode research by going to the internet and typing in my topic to see what other people have to say about it. So I went to Bing and I Googled, what are curses? The result was a curse is the usage of offensive words for a variety of purposes, including to demonstrate disrespect or negativity, to relieve pain, to express strong emotion such as anger, excitement, or surprise, as a grammatical intensifier or emphasis, or to express informality or conversational intimacy. So this shocked me because until now I've only really thought of curses as putting a negative magical spell on someone. Once again, Bing has blown my mind. So another definition of curse, though, is one that I was more familiar with, and you've probably heard of too, which comes from Merriam-Webster dictionary. I know it's
Yeah.
like a little site out on Bing. And it calls it a prayer or invocation for harm or injury to come upon one. So this aligns with the more contemporary interpretation of what a curse is, which is a wish of ill will on somebody, maybe just brought to fruition by negative words and attitudes or actions, such as, revoked loyalty when you have a bad experience at a business, but possibly through the application of dark magic.
Oh. Okay.
Exactly. So, Bailey, have you ever known someone who just had a stank hex on them, someone who's just a real unfortunate fella, someone who's, uttering explicit language style curses because a black magic style curse was just hanging over them like a shaggy New Orleans tree moss,
I don't know about all of that, but I do know people who just have bad luck all the time, and it seems like after a while maybe they were cursed or hexed,
Absolutely.
screamed at with curse words. I don't know.
Right. And I would say, again, some people seem to have highs and lows, and it just feels like some of it is self-fulfilling prophecy, whatever. Again, as much as I'm joking around, you do have kids who are in school who are around other kids who are touching, worms out in the dirt and getting measles and mumps and whatever else, and bringing it all over the place. That's a game
Yeah.
changer. But across some cultures, some people believe that if you really just are in a rut, it might be because something has taken a hold of you in a negative sense. All right. So I definitely have known some people who sort of acted like they were born in a puddle. Like it seemed like that they had been born in like, have you know like a water birth? Like if you're familiar with that, like they'd really kind
Sure.
of been like a stick in the mud since they were born. Like they were born
Okay.
into like some kind of a bog or a
Yeah.
swamp. Whether that was physical or emotional. Sometimes I've wondered like if some of these people had a curse, but I also think some people can only relate to negativity, and maybe they had been unkind to a witch or someone in like, like a Kroger or something like that. Or I guess witches
Yeah.
probably shop at Aldi. But they just, like they'd stepped on a witch's cape at a farmer's market, like they'd
Yeah.
like they
Sure.
swept their problems under the proverbial rug with the literal broom that the witch was supposed to like make her deliveries on or whatever is going on that day. But I guess that begs the question then, have you ever met somebody who was born via water birth?
Um, I've never asked. I don't really care to know. I don't. That's not typically something I ask people. Probably,
For
maybe.
sure. It could have happened. I think when I meet people, the first thing I like to ask is, are you circumcised? Were you born in a water birth? Because that's going to frame our entire relationship moving forward. Because again, if I do, I want to be friends with somebody who's going to walk into an Aldi and step on a witch's cloak because they were born in a swimming pool. I
All
don't
right,
know.
hang on, hang on. Are you trying? Okay, what is? How are you? How are you trying to relate witches and water births right now?
Oh, well, I just mean like people who are kind of like, in a puddle, like they're in a bog, like they got their own personal rain cloud because they were born into it.
Okay,
That could be an interpretation of
okay,
curses. Okay, forget all that. So anyway, back to curses,
okay,
back to
okay.
curses.
Yes, yes.
There is a rich history of cursing all throughout human history, dating back thousands of years. So, for everything that exists, there tends to be an opposite that must also exist. So, for as long
Mm-hmm.
as kind words and blessings have been around, there have also been curses. So, one of the earliest examples of a documented curse is actually in the book of Genesis in the Christian Bible. So, in Genesis
Okay.
3, which covers the story of the Garden of Eden, God curses the serpent for tricking Eve, condemning it to crawl on its belly and to be an enemy to humans. Everybody hates snakes, except, that fishing Garrett guy on TikTok who grabs pythons out of the swamp.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because Adam and Eve had willfully betrayed God's plan, he also curses humanity by bringing thistles and thorns from the ground and making childbirth painful, which I'm thinking, and I do not want to put words in God's mouth and label myself a false prophet, but I'm wondering if God had predicted water births and if that was part of the curse. So if you know anybody who was born via water birth, please write into us, nicheknowledgeandnonsense@gmail.com. We want to know if they're a stick in the mud or like a normal person. So anyway,
Ethan,
Bailey,
how many monsters did you have today?
just a 2 actually, which is low for me.
Oh my god.
Anyway, yeah. The anger comes from humanity having been given something amazing and choosing to interact with it negatively anyway, earning God's anger. Similar to how someone who, again, steps on a witch's cloak at an Aldi or a Micro Center, Whole Foods, or whatever, witches shop at. Speaking of that, do most witches get their eyeliner and black lipstick from Sephora? Because I know you work there. So, like, realistically, what percent of your customers tend to be witches by your estimate?
I mean, I would say most of them are using ashes from their enemies and mixing it with water, and they make their own paste.
From like a water birth eyeliner
Yes,
situation.
and it is waterproof. This is circling back. This is making sense. No, I do have a couple friends who are witches. I know there are different types of witches, different types of witchcraft that people can practice. I'm not like up on all of that stuff, so I'm not going to pretend like I know that, but I do know because this last week I was like confiding in a friend like all this shit keeps happening. Like, what the is going on? Did somebody put a fucking hex on me? Because I need to know how to get it off. And you know this shit, okay? So tell me. And she's like, well, if somebody did, then it comes back to them like 2 or 3-fold. So typically in like the witch community, which if I'm getting this wrong, guys, I'm sorry. Okay. Leave a comment.
Yeah.
Let me
Educate
know.
us instead
If
of
I-
hexing
let
us for our
know.
misunderstanding.
Yes. I would have prepared had I known that this was going to be the topic of
Yes.
this episode. So I apparently witches don't like or don't typically use darker magic or to like or hex other people because it comes back on you twice or 3 times as bad.
So it gets like a little multiplier. So yeah.
Yes. So at this point, I think whoever hexed me is dead. And it's too late for them to take it off.
So it's a good movie plot right there.
So
Man, that is rough. But yeah,
Yeah.
low key, like it's been tossed
Yeah.
around, I'd say multiple times by multiple people that, maybe there's a little bit of
Yeah.
something going on. Who
I think
knows?
so. Dude.
But yeah, that answers that. So if you're a witch, please write in, let us know. We might have you on a follow-up episode on curses and gnomes or something. Get your thoughts. So another ancient curse example would be clay tablets from ancient Mesopotamia, which hopefully I'm
Okay.
saying the name of that right. Sounds awesome. So some of those are dating back approximately 4,000 plus years. So let me hop over to Discord here. I want to show you what one of
Yeah.
these looks like so you can see it real quick.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Now, people could curse each other with a tablet, but if you knew the right Sephora witches, you could actually make a counter curse tablet to protect yourself. So,
Okay.
here's what that looked like.
Is it going to be the same picture?
So, no playing around though. There was.
Did you Photoshop that yourself?
I did, yes. No
Oh
playing
my
around. No
God.
playing around.
Oh my
This started. So basically, people could inscribe negative words
Hang
on a
on.
tablet.
It's it's for people who are listening and not watching right now. There's like the first tablet is just like a big piece of rock with some, I don't know, they look like symbols in them. And then the second one, Ethan photoshopped a reverse Uno card on top of that tablet. Just for
It's
some
a
context.
counter curse.
It's a counter curse. Well done.
Absolutely. So this started like a thousands of years long tradition of curse tablet warfare this could be its own episode. It is wild. So like people would make
Oh.
diss track level curses and then go bury them under their enemies' homes. It was nuts. So like you
Dude.
could say, misfortune on you, misfortune on your cow. All of your pistachios have those weird little black splotches or you can't get the shell open, etc.
Oh.
It was like Kendrick versus Drake, but it was a long time ago. So it was like, Kendrickus versus
Yeah.
Dracus or whatever.
Yeah.
And
But,
you
like,
could...
But like the HOA is involved because you're all doing
It could be.
each other's
It could
houses.
be.
Yeah.
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 But you could then, if you knew somebody was putting a curse tablet on your finances, you could put one out that says, in the name of these gods, I declare blessings of fortune and prosperity over my household. And it would counteract.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you were going to curse someone, like, what do you think you would inscribe on one of these tablets? So, like, I think I would be like, may there be a little poop in all your Taco Bell meat or whatever it is, something just that's going to stick with them for a while.
Yeah. Something like, I hope both sides of your pillow are never cold. They're always hot.
Oh,
And that anytime you bite into something with chicken in it, there's like a weird gristly piece and you lose your appetite.
I like how we named 3 perfectly innocent and understandable things that are just slightly
Yeah.
bothersome.
Well, they are generic enough to where it couldn't be linked back to a specific person.
It feels like you
Okay.
thought about this.
Yeah.
You're just
I
sitting around
haven't.
figuring out, like, when
I'm
you get a
just-
hold of that rascal who hexed you, you're letting him have it.
I mean, what the fuck am I gonna do? I don't do any of that stuff. So if I find out who you are,
You've heard of
you're dead.
a grisly murder. How about some gristly revenge with that little chicken curse?
Ooh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, honestly, we still kind of have this today. Like, if you send someone with an iPad a really bad meme or something, how is that any different? Because, like, if you text them a curse word on an iPad, that's the same thing, right? It's a curse tablet, whatever. Or if you just start like
Sure.
Instagram beef or whatever.
Sure.
I don't
Yeah.
use social media much, but I think people are still beefing on there, right?
Oh yeah, people
Like
have
cheese
beef
and
all the
beef
time.
and-
There's always tea going around.
Yeah, exactly. Just
So-
a little, we're a regular Golden Corral of drama out here with all this.
Honestly,
Beef and
with
tea and-
unlimited chocolate fountain. Okay? That's what social media is. That's why I can't quit Facebook. Because
Sure.
I need to know what that one girl who bullied me in high school is fing doing and that she's not doing well. That helps me feel better sometimes.
God. I get what you mean, though. Yeah, 100%. All right. So I want to take us from 4,000 years ago and fast forward to the 1600s for a minute, okay?
Okay.
In the beautiful suburbs of Salem, and a little bit of a curse drama is going on there, similar to social media. So basically, people went to Aldi and they had never seen a witch before, and it freaked them out. And again, someone has probably done a podcast or two on the Salem witch trials. But essentially,
Surely.
one of the driving factors was that many people believed that these young girls had cursed them. Now, whether or not that's true is kind of up in the air. I have personally been cursed at by girls several times, saying things like, "Don't take the French fries off my plate in the food court." And, they curse me saying, "Don't go to the quad and steal all the Frisbees. Those Frisbees up in the air aren't for you." And I said, "They're up in the air. You're not holding the Frisbee. You threw the Frisbee. You got rid of it. If I catch the Frisbee, you didn't have it anymore. That's my Frisbee. I'm not like stealing something from you. Why did you get rid of it if you still wanted it? Okay, it's going to end up in a gutter. I can't get in trouble at all for taking a Frisbee off the quad. So you want to cuss at me and curse me just because we're all on the quad and I take a couple of Frisbees? I'm going to take offense to that, okay? And maybe I don't care if revenge is 3 times as hard. Maybe I'm going to hex you back because you're cursing at me over the Frisbee." And basically things like that are the reason that a miscommunication about a curse happened and 14 women were killed. Also, 5
Okay,
men, which I hadn't heard before.
I hadn't either, but hang on, because I think I just answered a question I've had about you for a really long time. If you were a dog, you would be a golden retriever.
Because I'm blonde?
Well, because that's why you went after the Frisbee. That's why
Like
you said
Air Bud.
People eat and you try to take the French fries off of their plate.
Dude, you might be right. I don't know if I'm a retriever might be too opulent for me. I might be like a golden lab or something though. I don't know if I'm in the retriever tax
Anyway.
bracket.
No, there's like a whole thing on social media where it's like, where's my golden retriever boyfriend at? Like I would say you are Kayla's golden retriever husband, but she's not into bestiality, so it's just a saying.
Public apology to my wife for this
just
line of dialogue. It's just an
a saying.
expression. Man,
Yeah.
I feel like Adam is not golden retriever. He's like what's that scary looking dog that was in charge in Up? Not the Rottweiler. What is
Chihuahua?
that called? No, the big one. They're like black and brown. They're really pointy and dynamic. Not a
I
German
thought
Shepherd
it was a
though.
Rottweiler.
A Doberman.
Doberman?
Doberman. Yes,
Doberman.
Doberman. Yes, that's it. That's
I
it.
can see that.
I feel like he's got some Doberman energy because he's a little bit scary, but he's also like really enjoyable to people he knows and loves, which is kind of aligned with their temperament.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
makes
mean an
sense.
insult when
And-
I say he's scary. He's just a little bit intimidating. He's
He's
7 feet
intimidating because
tall.
he's
He's got a lot of
6
tats.
He's 6'4", and like 180 pounds. I don't know. He's pretty tall.
Yeah, exactly. I
One
don't
time
look
we were
up to too
walking-
many guys, but
One time we were walking in St. Louis in an area that wasn't really safe, and this guy we thought maybe was homeless. He starts walking up. He goes, "Damn, boy, you drinking whole milk?" And we just start. We're like, "Yep."
no,
Yeah.
he looks like it. He looks like it. There's no
Yeah.
2% going on in that boy's household.
No.
But also, I will say that this is accentuated by the fact that Bailey is probably like 4'10" on a good day if she's
Can you
wearing
shut
her Bride
your
of
freaking mouth?
Frankenstein
I'm
heels.
5'1".
Okay, so when she
5'1".
wears her huge Frankenstein's wife platforms, she's 5'1", and I say that doesn't count. Those are 6
That's
inches
not
tall.
They make me. They're 3 inches, so they make me 5'4".
So you need the platform
Just-
shoes to hit the American average
Is that the American average? 5'4"?
for height. Yeah, I guarantee it.
Can
guarantee it's
I-
between 5'3" and 5'5".
Can I like file for disability because of my height?
I don't think
joking,
dwarfism
I'm
is I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm joking. But no, seriously, I do wear platform shoes. Even my sneakers, I get, my Adidas have like a little platform
Sure.
on them and they're skateboarding shoes, but they have a platform because I'm short.
And even with that,
problem.
the height disparity between you and Adam is still
Is insane.
dramatic.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah. Sorry
so anyway,
for that.
these
But
these 5 guys in Salem who were also killed in the witch trials. I
yeah,
didn't know about
over
this.
some of this curse drama. I just never heard about it. Not to make it all about
I
men or
hadn't
whatever,
either.
but even
Well, no.
Yeah, one of them was an 81-year-old man suspected of
Wait.
witchcraft.
This was in the 1600s, and he was 80 years old.
Yeah, I know, right?
I
So that's
f***ing
like
would've
being
thought he was a witch, too.
109.
Yeah, I would have thought he was a witch too.
Fair
Okay.
enough. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I guess he'd been cursing or something like that, so they tortured him to death.
Oh no.
People had strict morals back then. It sounds like because they killed 14 people over freaking cursing. That's nuts.
I know.
We'd
I-
both be put to death back then.
I think so too.
With the way we
actually,
curse.
I think that guy actually wrote the word ass hat on a piece of paper and then folded it up really tiny and did like a paper football at one of the hearings and hit the judge, and he was like, "He's a witch!"
Right.
And then it all went downhill from there. So that's
For
how that
sure.
happened.
And I didn't again. I didn't deep dive Salem. I know a lot of people are very passionate about that, and
Yeah.
I haven't done a massive deep dive, so I won't try to get wild with the history or anything. But I guess that's like the risk you shoulder when you choose to shop at an Aldi. If you consort with other witches, people might point the finger.
The only bad thing you have to worry about at Aldi is the aisle of shame, which is what I call the aisle of all the shit that you don't need, but is only seasonal. And you're like, well, I don't need this cherry blossom candle, but I know it won't be here next week.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Dude, how come Aldi Drip is like low key fire?
Dude, I have shoes from there.
Okay, I was about to say I saw a pair of like Aldi like rainbow shoes, and
Yeah.
they were about my size, and I've regretted for years not getting them.
Dude, you should just do it.
Well,
should
they're
just
gone now because I didn't take advantage of the crap you don't need aisle or whatever you called it.
From a person who is insanely impulsive when it comes to shopping to somebody who's not, don't let yourself regret it.
I'll check
Just buy
eBay.
it.
Just buy it.
I'm joking.
I mean,
try
I'm
to control
entitled to a
myself.
little treat once or twice a day, right?
Yeah, 1 to 2 monsters.
Yeah, there we go. I wonder how much money I've spent on monsters my whole life. Well, that's pointless to even think about. So, Bailey, being a goth yourself, Do you think that you might have been accused of witchcraft and cursing during the Salem witch trials?
No, because I would have been dead.
Of what?
I'm almost legally blind, Ethan. And they didn't have glasses back then, did they?
I think glasses. We looked this up on a previous podcast. Now I
That's
gotta
right,
look
we
it up
did.
again. They were like way older than we thought.
Yeah. But also, I had an emergency C-section with my second kid. I totally would have died during childbirth. That's a
Oh,
scary
there was
thought.
no, yeah. I didn't even think about that. If you have had a C-section that was emergency, that would have been like 100% death back then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Glasses were invented in 1280. Freaking 400 years before Salem.
But it still wouldn't have been awesome because they didn't have like the astigmatism stuff figured out yet.
Yeah, probably
And
not. And I'm sure there was like,
yeah.
economic concerns with sourcing glasses in the New World and
Right.
everything. Because that was before the, formal founding of America by like, what, 100 years almost?
Yeah. Gravity had yet to
Yeah,
be
right. 1680s. Yeah.
discovered. So, yeah, no, I probably would have been dead. But I also think that people weren't goth like what we know goth to be today. I also don't consider myself goth, but let's pretend that I am. Okay,
Doesn't take much imagination. Go on.
a goth in 2025 would not look the same as a goth in the 1600s.
Well,
So
I'll tell you what. If they'd come to me and said, "You're friends with this woman, is she cursing people?" I would have said, "Bailey, she freaking curses a lot." Yeah, that's accurate.
yes, no, that's 100% true. Yes.
And you would have been like,
So
"Burned at the stake? What the piss?"
what the piss? Burned at the stake. Shove it up my butt and set me on fire. I'm joking.
I don't think that's how they do it.
Marshmallows on me.
You'd be an
right.
excellent dictator.
Anyway. Yeah, you
Okay.
think so?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So there are a lot of historical miscommunications about curses, but there are also
Okay.
cases where people are cursing others deliberately, like what may have happened to you. So my research actually unveiled several pay-to-curse online services and an even greater number of virtual witches, shamans, and voodoo practitioners who allege that they can remove curses over Zoom or in person. So, the thing
What?
yeah, the thing here that was like the most startling to me is that some people will curse others for profit. That seems like shocking, but I guess there's also like paid hitmen. So I went to Bing.com again and I asked the
Bing.com on
search
Google.
bar. Yeah, I Googled Bing.com and asked the search bar. Yeah. I went to Bing and I was like, "What is a cursor?" And it replied with this. It said, "A cursor is a graphical indicator on a screen, like a blinking line or arrow showing where actions will occur or where you're positioned." And yeah, so that was just like astonishing to me because I'd never really thought of a cursor that way. But if you think of how people direct their negative energy, it makes sense. So, Bailey, for each question I asked Bing, a dozen more popped up. I knew I was getting close to the final answers on what motivated cursors to do their evil works, but I needed a real example to wrap this episode up. So enter
Okay.
Richard Crowley, or Crowley, I don't know, a
Crowley,
real-life
okay.
victim of a curse. We'll go with Crowley.
Okay.
So, in 2004, a man named Richard Crowley claimed he had been cursed by a former business partner. Their bad blood had spilled over into his non-business life, and over the course of a year, he experienced a series of tragedies. His marriage ended, his business collapsed, and he was in a serious car accident with lifelong implications. He became convinced that he was hexed because his luck had been so good in his life up until that point. So he eventually sought the help from one of these curse removal services from the internet that I mentioned earlier. So
Okay.
he connected with a healer who recommended a lot of ways he might lift the curse, including salt baths, candle rituals like you see on movies, and
Sure.
cleansing rituals that set him back thousands of dollars. While a lot of people might think that this was an online scam, Richard claims that it actually worked. And after working with the internet healer, he was able to lift the curse and recover his mojo. So some people might believe that this was all in his head and he was healed with the power of positive thinking. But if you think
Sure.
about it, therapy is also in your head, and therapy is actually more expensive than consulting with an online curse clinician. So if you're thinking about therapy before you go to betterhelp.com, not a sponsor, maybe try an online curse removal service in case that's what's going on with you.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know, Ethan. Definitely. You. Jesus. Okay. Here.
Oh,
Okay.
pretty lost for words for a
I
podcast
am.
host.
My brain is mush, and I think maybe you cursed me. I think that yeah, I mean therapy is expensive AF.
It is. It's
Especially
very
if you live in
expensive.
the United States and your insurance does not
Certainly
cover
over
it, or they only cover the
$20.
first 6 sessions. So, yeah, dude, therapy, anybody can benefit from. However, maybe these people who offer the hex removal services, I've never seen a billboard for that before. That would be kind
Ooh.
of cool. But maybe they're just trying to make money. Maybe it's all placebo. Or maybe it is real and they're helping people. Or maybe they're not really helping people, but they are making the people believe that they are, and that's what they
Sure.
need.
So if you think
I
about it,
don't know, dude.
reframing things in a way of like productive or positive thinking, or teaching people to incorporate habits for their own well-being and their own comfort, like these spiritual clinicians are doing online, is not that different from therapy. If you think about it, maybe there's a little less science behind what they're doing. Maybe they don't have a doctorate. Okay. Maybe this is all made up, but placebo is one heck of a drug. I won't say the H
It
word
is.
because I'm not going to curse you over the microphone. But Bailey, I was gonna pitch this to you. What would you think of doing a follow-up episode where we schedule a call with one of these curse services to see if they can help you out of your pink eye
My pink eye!
or whatever your
I don't have pink
constant
eye.
colds that you're getting or whatever it is? Like,
Okay.
if we hired somebody to hop on a Riverside or Zoom call to get your curse lifted.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down. I'd be
I
down.
know an anonymous benefactor who might be willing to pay for this entire thing just for content.
And I think I know who that is. Yes, that's very generous of them.
Thank you, thank you.
No, I will say though, besides getting freaking sick all the time, which my kids are young, and I know that their immune system library is not as big as ours. So sure, they're going to be getting sick all the time, and then they're going to be bringing it home, and then they're going to be getting me and Adam sick and all this stuff. However, things have been increasingly weird. Okay, I think my house is haunted. Maybe it's the ghost in my house. I don't know. But also, just car issues. Okay, within the last year, I was in a car accident in June. The lady hit me, totaled my car. We got a new car. I had been driving Adam's car that was totaled, so I still had my vehicle that was our family vehicle. It was a Yukon. It had some engine issues. We had it towed to a mechanic. They were like, this needs more work than it is worth. It's not safe to drive off of the lot. So we scrapped it, had to buy another car. Okay. So now we have 2 new cars, and we had both of ours paid off. We were really sad about that. But
Sure.
we needed reliable transportation, and we're like, okay, whatever.
And new to you, you
Found a
didn't
new
go out and
vehicle.
like buy Lexuses.
No,
Lexi?
we bought used vehicles that we
Lexis? It's plural of
Lexus.
Lexuses.
Oh,
Lexi?
no. Lexi, I guess.
Okay, but go on,
You
go
don't-
on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I'm driving Adam's car again. I don't know what's going on, guys. And this was a couple months ago. I thought I smelled something burning. And I was like, I think I smell something burning, but I don't know what it is. And so I had my windows down. I rolled them up because I thought maybe someone's burning leaves outside, and I drove by and that's what I was smelling. But it smelled different from a burning leaf smell. And I'm like, what the hell? Nope. Turns out his brakes were smoking, had completely burned through, and that's a fire hazard. So we had to replace that. We also had to replace and get a new suspension and new tires because we bought it with new tires on it, but the suspension was messed up and made the two front tires go completely bald within the 5 months that we had been driving it.
Sheesh.
And now my car, which is the family car, it's a Jeep, it's starting to stutter. And my engine is really rattly out of nowhere. So if we could just talk to somebody about helping me fix the fucking car problems. Because that shit's not cheap. Within the last couple months, I think we've spent around $3,000
Oh my gosh. So
to
we
get
need
all
a
of.
mechanic who is a witch.
Yeah, like a mechanic fairy.
The wrench
Yeah.
witch. That doesn't rhyme like I
wrench
thought it
witch.
would in my head.
No, but I like it though.
Yeah, WW.
Okay.
Go to www.wrenchwitch.com. Don't go to that. I don't know if that's a real website. But yeah, so even just
That's just my car problems, guys. And I know, I mean, it's just life. You're an adult. Shit's not fun anymore all the time. You got shit to pay for. You got to, do things you don't want to do. But if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it, like clean your dishes.
yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
And I know that. I am willing to be realistic, but at a certain point, okay?
Yeah, it is just
It's
a
just like, did
strange
somebody
run of
hex
bad
me?
luck.
Yeah.
It is odd. And, hopefully that these lows will have proportional highs just like, anything else out there. And I do believe
Yeah.
it is, but I believe those highs were in your past and your best years are behind you and you are a little bit like washed up in that sense. So you're just paying for it now, I guess. You're screwed.
You know what? I deserve it. I do.
I wasn't going to
So,
say it. I was just going to explain it.
My best years were when you and I were working at a movie theater.
Oh, heck
and
yeah.
Still in high school.
Eating popcorn for every meal.
Eating popcorn, eating Junior Mints, drinking Mountain Dew every single freaking night,
Yeah.
wondering when my IBS started.
Right. Watching Fast and Furious like 29
Fast and
times
Furious.
through the black curtain.
Oh,
Memorizing every line
Yeah.
of every wrinkle on Dwayne Johnson's beautiful head.
man. Yeah, which one?
Oh! I'm heading back over to Bing.com right now.
Going to be.
I'm going to Bing. Gonna bing a ding a ling.
Bing-a-ding-a-ling. That needs to be a commercial. Need to see a ding-a-ling? Check out Bing.
We are so never getting a
bumped my
sponsor.
camera. No.
Speaking of which, this episode's brought to you by Aldi. If you want to meet a witch and get hexed, then go to Aldi and get some horse meat.
And check out all these witches.
Aldi's witches.
Hey.
That was good, actually.
Hey, that horse meat scandal was not in the U.S. It was only in Europe where they actually eat horse meat.
Oh, that took two twists.
Yeah.
I'll continue spreading misinformation on the internet. Thank you very much. But yeah, that's it. And again, I did get inspired to kind of go through this episode because you had been having such a monumental round of bad luck. And again, I've
Oh,
said like in the last year probably 5 times, are we sure you're not cursed? Like, have we looked
yeah.
into it? Have we had any of the producers check into it to just like fact check this? We fact check everything else so thoroughly. Not one of our producers could figure out whether or not you've been hexed.
And that, I mean, yeah.
What are we paying you
It's
for?
I don't know. It's just Ethan and I that do this podcast. Nobody else helps us.
Okay.
Nobody. We don't. Not even very many people listen.
We should have one episode
Like,
where we go to a studio and get it professionally produced, but we act really casual about it. And then the next episode, we're back to webcams.
dude,
I
that'd
mean,
be
they're probably
hilarious.
going to have a worse
You
microphone than you, honestly.
you have the cameras and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't have the
But we
motivation.
I know.
Okay.
It's a lot of
To
work.
be fair, we did film a 3 camera setup, really, really cool in-person episode in my
Oh
studio.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
one of the brilliant producers recorded the whole thing through the webcam mic instead of through the mixer. So it sounded like
So
people were
absolute
people
shit.
were talking about a podcast 2 rooms away. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say who that was, but it was
I
a
won't
disaster.
say who it was
Yeah.
either.
Hmm.
And it was, we tried. I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to do it. So
Probably.
we still got to, we're still making episodes. We're still friends.
We sure hope. A year later, we are bouncing back.
I know. Wild stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
What is your
I'm
wrist?
glad
Your wrist tattoo is really popping today. The leaves color's looking good.
it's yeah, thanks. I've been trying out a new like hydrating tattoo balm.
Well, if you have to
Kinda makes
wonder
it
if it was working, the
more-
answer is yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's my peonies. It's my favorite flower, peonies.
That was
So,
dope as heck. Yeah. Looks brand new, basically.
thanks. Thank you. Well, I have a pretty awesome tattoo artist who I trust. He does like the American traditional style. You know this, Ethan, but
Yes.
we'll put it on the podcast. His name's Benny DeWitt. He owns Good Heart Tattoos in Springfield, Illinois. So if you are into the traditional style tattoo work, he's got about, I think, 5 to 6 other artists, and they're all amazing. They're all really nice people
He's running that shop now.
inside and out. Yeah, it's always been his.
Oh, jeez.
I believe. So, but yeah, and they're expanding. They've been renovating and adding more space so that they have more room to work in. So, that's really exciting
Freaking
too.
John Galt industrialist over here. I had no idea he was pulling numbers like that. That's terrific.
Yeah.
That's super
Yeah.
cool.
So, and he travels and does like guest tattoo work at other tattoo shops across the US, and he has guests at his shop, and yeah, so pretty solid. Good Heart Tattoos in Springfield, Illinois.
Yeah, and they're
So,
on Instagram and everything too, I'd
Yeah.
imagine. So
Yeah, check 'em out.
Check them out. All right, that's about all I've got. Again, we will look into getting your curse lifted.
Okay.
For a later one. See if the curse. I don't even know what to call them. Curse care professional, health care.
we have to do this now. We have to be locked in.
We gotta be locked in.
And also I'm glad my suffering was inspiring to you.
Yeah. Oh. My gosh.
I'm joking. It's not. Things could be way worse. They could be way worse. I just am kind of like a negative, like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is going to happen too.
You have good humor.
Like, what am I
going
to do next? Am I going to my pants when I'm driving home from work tomorrow night? Probably, because what the else, guys?
That could be a choice, but
Yeah.
it is how it be.
Well-
wise person once said.
People, I would not know, but people who are diagnosed with IBS, you know why they call it IBS, right? Because your doctor's not going to be like, your results came back and you do have IBS. And if you're like, well, doc, what does IBS stand for? And your doctor says, I be What's the medical terminology for
I
it?
feel like I should have seen that coming from further away. Well, what a great curse to end the curse
Yes.
episode on right there. So
Yes.
again, everybody, thank you for listening. If you want to do us a huge favor on the side of analytics, go ahead and click a little bell icon or heart icon or follow button or whatever it is you see on your screen right now. A huge shout out to Eric Safaro for letting us use his song Cherry Crush as our intro and outro. You can check out his music on Bandcamp or Spotify. That's SFERRO. Check it out.